from the light of the sun. A nasty burn, now isn't that fun? Swim in the ocean, run on the beach, drown in the surf and blood like a leech. We have no time for merrymaking. Chop off the head for badness sake, sell for a limb, batter and bake. Nasty spells of bubonic night. Come close and see what's hidden from sight. Something festering in my bed.
It's a tech deck. A tech deck. Do you remember these little things from the 90s? My boss at my day job found this thing, and we were both so very excited when he did, because it's childhood right here. It's adolescence. And I brought this home, put it on camera, and I'm just like, why was I excited for this thing? This is like one of the most pointless things ever made. That's, well, Tickle Me Elmos exists, so not the worst. Anyway, welcome to my Halloween special, guys. Week 4. Man, already at the tail end of all this. Thinking about doing something for the final week. Not sure what. It's probably just going to be me drinking on camera again, so that's something. Anyway, hope everyone's having a great day. Welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk scary movies.
I want to die on Halloween. Halloween, Halloween, I want to die on Halloween.
The world is ravaged by zombies. Nicholas Hoult is a weird zombie because he develops feelings for Teresa Palmer and protects her from other zombies. As his feelings develop, other zombies seem to evolve just like him. Oh, there's evil skeleton zombies that are just assholes and want everyone to die.
What if these guys are lost too? Wandering around but never getting anywhere. Do they feel trapped? Do they want more than this?
I always felt like I was missing out when this first got released in theaters. And out of all of the YA adaptations that I've seen over the years, this is the first time that I felt something that's pretty damn close to entertainment and something that feels fresh, unique-ish, and dare I say it, cute. I won't say it's perfect. Lord knows that just comes with the territory when it comes to YA adaptations, but I still really like this. I never want to hear the phrase, "you can't make this stuff up," because I don't know who would have possibly come up with an idea as stupid as Romeo and Juliet, but with zombies, and somehow make it work. Every main character playing a zombie has my utmost respect because it could not have been easy to direct nuanced yet emotional expressions in a zombie. Hoult as R is charming as hell, and Rob Corddry is hilarious. While the CGI for the bonies aren't that great, their design and the way they move does make them seem a bit more threatening than what Hollywood usually belts out. The sets have a haunting charm to them, and the ideas presented in the story are pretty fascinating to contemplate, and the emotions can be surprisingly effective.
I saw pictures last night. Memories.
Sadly, as previously stated, this is not without its blemishes. It has its fair share of eye-rolling moments, inconsistencies within the story, and bad writing. If I've been annoyed by Romeo and Juliet doing it, I have to be annoyed when any variation of the story does it. I hate the love at first sight trope. Yup, because R saw Julie, suddenly the blood gets a-flowing, if you know what I mean. Julie as a character damn near holds this flick back. Her feelings for R don't quite make sense because her boyfriend, Dave Franco, just died. I think the implication is that they weren't getting along all that well, but she still refers to him as her boyfriend. And not but a few days later, she's ready to bump uglies with a zombie. To make matters worse, she kind of knew that R killed him. Sure, she kinda separates herself from R eventually, but they still get back together. While I can respect that this doesn't quite do a liar reveal type of story, in fact, that was a breath of fresh air, it still makes Julie look incredibly insensitive to Franco's character. John Malkovich is a one-dimensional zombie hater, and some lesser story elements you think are supposed to go somewhere ultimately don't.
How'd you die?
I don't remember.
How old are you?
Never thought I'd see the day where I would actually have fun and be legit charmed by a YA story. 8 years. That's how long it took me to see this thing, and jeez, I wish I'd seen it sooner. Hey, it ain't great, but for as botched as this idea should have been, it worked out pretty well. If you've never seen this, I recommend it. My honest rating for Warm Bodies, a 4 out of 5.
Oh no. Stop staring, you're acting weird again.
Tell me a story full of betrayal, a headless horseman covered with snails.
Bruce Campbell is Elvis Presley, teaming up with a black guy who is convinced that he's John F. Kennedy. And they do battle against a mummy clad in cowboy boots and cowboy hat.
President Kennedy was a white man.
That's how clever they are. They dyed me this color, all over.
I cannot believe I live in a reality where this is a movie. It is an idea that is so absurd, so stupid, that it never stops making me laugh. But what depresses me is that it's such a great idea that does absolutely nothing with itself. Let me get the positives out of the way. To see Bruce Campbell do an Elvis impersonation all throughout this flick is wonderful. And he's surprisingly committed to the performance. While I wouldn't necessarily buy Ossie Davis as a black JFK, he is charming and funny as this old dude who researches ancient mummies and tries his best to take charge in defeating Bubba HO-TEP. And at long last, I finally saw a movie that has voiceover narrations, but do it mostly right. There's a few imperfections here and there, but compared to most that I see, this knew what voiceover work is meant for, diving into the mind of the protagonist. Thank you, Don Coscarelli, for knowing how to do your job.
Now, what is that growth, man? Cancer? Nobody's talking. No one seems to know.
However, as I alluded to, I have my issues with this thing. There are long stretches of boredom. And frankly, I would rather watch the Evil Dead movies. If your story is about a pair of aging Elvis and JFK fighting a mummy, then I better see a movie that has a pair of aging Elvis and JFK fighting a goddamn mummy. And you know what? We don't get that until the final act of the movie. And it's brief as all hell. I won't pretend that there aren't amazingly hilarious moments, but for pretty much the entire thing, it feels like a what-if kind of story. If Elvis was alive, what would he be thinking, knowing that the world thought he was dead? What would his regrets be? What would he want to... Dude! What is this crap? Give me an old fart Elvis and JFK fighting a goddamn mummy! What the hell is the matter with you? Why do I need to know about Elvis having no boners for years? Why do I need to know about the growth on his dick? If I wanted a mediocre alternate universe romp, I'll check in with the now lackluster MCU. Oh, thank you very much.
He had me on the floor, and I had his mouth over my asshole.
A shit eater?
He was after my soul.
Look, it's not like this is without charm. If you were going to tell me that a biopic starring Bruce Campbell as Elvis Presley was in the works, I would be all in on that. That sounds like it would be amazing. But that's not what this movie is, or at least not what it's supposed to be. And when it finally is what it's supposed to be, it takes too long to get there. And that makes me about as flaccid as this iteration of Elvis. Look, if this was just about a pair of old kooks fighting a mummy, I think you would have had a real winner here. But as is, it's so underwhelming. Not bad, but not great either. My honest rating for BUBBA HO-TEP, a 3 out of 5.
Mr. Kennedy, ask not what your rest home can do for you. Ask what you can do for your rest home.
Hey,
Follow the path, the sleepless night. Feels so good to have a bad fright.
A remake of the 1968 George Romero classic. They're coming to get Barbara after they get her brother. She escapes, holds up in a house with other survivors, including Tony Todd, and they all constantly go at each other's throats figuratively as the amassing zombies outside go after their throats literally.
What's happening?
I don't know. Nobody knows.
Full disclaimer, it has been a long ass time since I've seen the original, and I don't remember caring about it that much. Look, there's actually quite a bit about this that I like. Sadly, there's even more that I dislike. I like aspects of Barbara's character arc, going from this hysterical bitch quit screaming you're gonna blow out the speakers on my TV woman to a bona fide badass that could probably handle the zombie apocalypse on her own. The makeup, while certainly not as graphic as contemporary zombie flicks, you still get a few distinguished zombies that make your skin crawl. My biggest positive is Tony Todd as the next-gen Dwayne Jones, and boy does he redeem an otherwise lame flick. Ever poised, forever got that "don't mess with me" expression on his gorgeous face, yet unusually calming when his character is called to be sympathetic. A gentleman and a badass.
And who the fuck gave you the right to decide for the rest of us?
I'm not deciding for you or anybody else, Cooper. I'm thinking about my own ass.
However, very few folks out there have ever made a remake that was even on par, let alone better than the original. Not that I have that much to compare to right now, because, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen the original, and I don't remember too much of it outside of that very famous ending. But as for this one, there's just so many tropes that it does, and it bothers the shit out of me. And these tropes were outdated even in 1990. Maybe the cliche of hysterical people in the midst of a zombie apocalypse made sense back in 1968, but between then and 1990, a slew of zombie movies were made, and nowadays we're kind of used to them. So when your main characters spend the entire time screaming when a zombie shows up, it's annoying and grating on the ears. This is only compounded by the amount of screaming these characters do to each other. I get it, they disagree on how to survive, but no character really has anything smart or interesting to say. So, no one comes across as all that likable outside of Tony Todd. And as much as I want to like Barbara, the writing for her is not done justice, often breaking character and occasionally being unlikable herself.
Is he dead? You're all seeing this! Is he dead?
Stop it! You're losing it, girl.
I think if you tone down the infighting just a little bit, or a lot, this could have been a decent zombie romp, and might have even been at least worthy of the original. But as is, it's not terrible. Honestly, I don't even think it's all that bad. I guess I just wish that it modernized the characters a little bit, or at least modernized them a lot better than was ultimately given to us. Purists of Romero's original may be advised to stay away from this, but if you're just a casual zombie junkie, then it's not the worst there is. My honest rating for Night of the Living Dead, a 3 out of 5.
They're us. We're them, and they're us.
Follow the path, the sleepless night. Feels so good to have a bad fright.
A bunch of snot-nosed kids catch wind of monsters running around killing people, and it's up to them to stop them using an old Van Helsing journal that Dracula wants.
The guys are dead. Get a clue? Something's out there and it's killing people. And if it's monsters, Nobody's gonna do a thing about it but us.
It is a sad-ass day when you realize that TriStar, prior to being acquired by Sony, did a far better job of doing a crossover of iconic monsters in this one single raunchy-ass kids movie in 1987 than Universal did with their own damn IPs in their disastrous 2017 Dark Universe. It's official. Universal is not allowed to make a crossover movie if it's not better than Monster Squad. This is the kind of raunchy kids movie I would have been obsessed over as a kid. And how could I not be? It damn near captures everything about young boys that very few movies ever truly try to imitate. Even right down to the problematic shit, which we'll talk about later. This is an obvious ode to the iconic monsters, and it's done an incredible justice. The costumes are perfectly hammy, the makeup is spot on and charmingly cheap, even the kid characters are lovable. And oh my god, if I ever get a tattoo, it's gonna be one of the many incredible lines from this movie.
It's okay, you guys. He's friends with us. Come on, don't be chicken shit.
I don't care who you are. If cancel culture ever caught wind of this movie, they are gonna have a field day with this. It's got some problematic shit. Look at this. Look at this. You have a boy peeking into a woman's bedroom via binoculars like a stalker. You have kids smoking blatantly on school grounds. This kid's nickname is literally just Fat Kid. The kids in the climax are handling firearms. Okay, that was pretty freaking sweet. And this kid is wearing a goddamn Confederate hat. What the actual Adults, I dare you. Figure out how to explain this to your kids. But there's also subplots that don't seem all that relevant to the story, like the broken marriage that is the main kid's parents. One would also argue that for as much screen time as the adults get, they would play a bigger role in the story, but it seems to shift gears from the parents to the German guy. Very strange.
Give me the amulet, you bitch!
This definitely has some shit in it that's gonna make you tug at your collar. And I firmly believe that it's only a matter of time before snowflake Twitter bitches get their hands on this and try to cancel it. But everything else is so much fun. It's campy, it's stupid, but it's endearing, and it has wonderful writing. It's a really good watch if you've never seen it before. If you haven't, I encourage you to check it out. My honest rating for The Monster Squad, a strong 4 out of 5.
We're the Monster Squad.
Something waiting down the hall. Watch your step, you'll have a great fall.
Jessica Roth is back as Tree Geldman in another slasher horror Groundhog Day scenario. Turns out that the reason she experienced all that was a science experiment by her boyfriend's roommate. In a desperate attempt to help him get out of his repeated day, he accidentally flings Tree back to her repeated day. But everything is different, including the identity of the babyface killer. I don't care who you are, this is significantly more enjoyable than the previous flick. Now, I fully admit, when I revisited the first one, I kind of found out that I liked it a lot more than when I first saw it in theaters. I also admit that I don't like this one as much as I did when I first saw it as well. But I still really like it, and I still like it more than the original. Whatever your feelings toward this flick, you'll never convince me that it isn't saved by Roth. who delivers a performance just as impassioned as before. She has proved herself to be a quality talent with oodles of charm to keep you hooked to the story. From the dry humor to the more emotional moments, she sells it like a champ. I'm sure I've said it before, I sincerely hope that she gets hired for something that will get her an Oscar. She is going to earn it, and I will be over the moon should that day come. Beyond that, I think it's a good gimmick to include an alternate reality, as it does exactly what this movie sets out to do. The audience doesn't know who the killer is. New situations are thrown at Tree as not to make her completely invulnerable to the events at play, and gives her something new to react to. It provides interesting moral dilemmas that you can't understand why she may or may not want to live in this reality, so the writing continues to be smart and the characters engaging.
None of this is real if it erases that. You're living someone else's life that doesn't belong to you.
Unfortunately, I do have to say, there are some lemons that otherwise sour this experience. And it genuinely pains me to spotlight them, but it ain't perfect. Pretty much the entire first act of the movie is a bloated excuse to set up the rest of the movie. You're almost led to believe that Faivu is going to be the main character since the repeated day is his and the masked killer is after him. However, after twists and turns galore, it shifts gears and passes the baton right back to Tree, and his subplot is completely thrown out. It all exists so Tree can drive the story again. Not that this is necessarily a bad thing, as Tree is the more interesting character anyway, but that first act should have been seriously rewritten. Not to mention the masked killer in this reality, without giving anything away, the motivations don't make sense and just feels like an excuse to throw a curveball at the audience. Not that it's not effective, you just don't want a hollow revelation.
Where's the cupcake?
What cupcake?
The one you made for my birthday. The one you poisoned.
Oh, that cupcake.
This remains one of the more satisfying sequels that I've seen in a long time. The fact that it leans more into the self-aware ridiculousness of this story makes it all the more enjoyable for me. Yeah, there's a few negatives now, but you know what? I'd be lying if I said that was enough to deter me from ever enjoying this or even watching it again. I had some serious laughs and was thoroughly entertained. I don't care who you are, I really like this one. My honest rating for Happy Death Day to You, a strong 4 out of 5. A group of Scottish soldiers on a training mission wind up in a horrifying situation where they're holed up in a small house being hunted by werewolves.
Exactly what is it we're fighting against?
Megan, you want to run it past the boys?
Lycanthropes.
You what?
That's werewolves to you and me.
Damn, I forgot how enjoyable this was. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's perfect, but as something that's kind of a blend of horror and action, it's pretty solid. Usually, a slow build-up to the good stuff would bother me in a movie like this. Getting to know the characters, taking its sweet time to get to what we all want to see, but what sets this apart from other flicks that made me as cynical as I made myself out to be, the characters do have an enjoyable camaraderie. I won't say that they have distinguished and memorable personalities, but I like this group of lads. Though the werewolves aren't as good as Underworld for being just 1 year apart from each other, they're still damn close in terms of quality werewolf suits. There are tense and enjoyable action scenes, satisfying gruesome violence, and surprisingly effective emotional beats. So it's got everything that appeals to me.
Cheers, mate.
It is sadly an outdated watch for me. And it pains me to say that because I have nothing but respect for this, but there's just some things that I can't get past anymore. 2 years prior, the world was given ginger snaps. At the time, you can understand why the shots were strategic in terms of not showing the whole werewolf, and instead going for the Jaws route, showing just bits and pieces, only showing the whole monster in brief shots to hide the possible cheapness. But here it's a bit of a bummer because this is an action flick. When you get brief flashes, it just feels like choppy editing. And these filmmakers have had 2 years to learn how to make the werewolves look good in that modern climate. This is why I appreciate Underworld so much, because it had more practical effects than CG. It's not like I don't get it, and I will concede that this movie's budget wasn't enormous, so perhaps I shouldn't be so harsh. But I guess I just wish that the wolves weren't strategically shot to show only glimpses of them. I want full-on, in-your-face stuff, and we seem to only get it in the final act. And again, not very frequently and not for very long.
Knock me out! Hit me! Oh, you fucking pussy, hit me!
If you're a fan of werewolf movies, then this is definitely one to check out. I really like it, bar some of the fast edits when it comes to some of the action scenes. But where it counts for me, where it shines the brightest, that's enough for me to say that I enjoyed this and I would totally watch this again. My honest rating for Dog Soldiers, a strong 4 out of 5.
Those things out there are real. And if they're real, what else is real?
Whatever offense makes you scream, I want to die on Halloween.
This bitch of a woman discovers the grotesque living corpse of her lover, who is also the brother of her husband, and starts killing people to bring him back to his former self. Only when her stepdaughter gets involved do their plans become threatened.
It's really me. His blood on the floor, it brought me back.
Jesus, man. This was not up my alley. This was a very unpleasant experience, though I don't think I should be going into a Clive Barker movie and expecting a feel-good flick. But I have to confess, there's a lot about this that I respect and appreciate, at least from a filmmaking standpoint. What is this but 90 plus minutes of watching a woman cheat on her husband with his depraved brother, desperate to cheat on him I might add, and watching her murder innocent men to bring him back from the undead or whatever he is. It's just pure indulgence of the sadistic and twisted with next to no relief until the third act. Once again, that should probably be the point, which should make the resolution of this story all the more rewarding. I argue that the ending is too quick and nearly made the entire viewing hollow. Plot lines don't make sense. If Julia doesn't love Larry, why did she marry him? And Frank does pose a good question. Why doesn't she let Frank kill him? She just says no. And that's it. Is this movie seriously trying to give this woman a sympathetic edge? Are you kidding me? How did the Cenobites not know that Frank escaped? Among many other complaints.
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Yep, all of that made a movie that I just couldn't get into. But, like I said, there are some positives worth pointing out, so let's do it. I've banged on plenty of times now how much I adore practical effects. Advent of computers, fake-ass CGI, blah blah blah. Y'all get it, shut my Peruvian mouth. Having said that, I do have a great deal of respect for the practical effects. The makeup is so juicy and disgusting and looks so damn good. Nightmare-inducing, but it looks great. The creature designs from the Cenobites to the freakish engineer monster. Give this movie some credit, especially in the 80s. They did a perfect job of standing out amidst a sea of standout monsters. For all the unpleasantness that are Julia's actions, Claire Higgins is one of the finest femme fatales I've seen in a movie in a long time. For all the endless eardrum-blowing screaming that Kirsty does, Ashley Lawrence is a much-needed breath of fresh air as the one bright entity in this disturbing-ass flick.
Be gentle with her, okay? She hates moving.
Surprise.
Kirsty.
Okay, all right. I'll be nice.
I won't pretend this didn't have artistic value. I sure feel like I need therapy after it, but where it's good, it's great. But a lot of that doesn't really mean a whole lot to me if there isn't a good story woven into it. And I know good story is not exactly the intention here, but what is presented just doesn't appeal to me. I understand the popularity. If you're into this movie, I can understand why. If you're not, welcome to the club. My honest rating for Hellraiser, a weak 3 out of 5.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Only one more week to go. Hopefully, I will have my Deep Blue Sea deep dive ready to go. But I am a world-class procrastinator, so pray for me. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon.
Something rising in the bowl, and we'll take your restless soul. Something